Week 13. I can't believe it's Week 13 already. We've got an 11-game main slate. So as we always do, we're going to split this up. We're going to do quarterbacks today, running backs, wide receivers will be their own separate videos, and then of course we'll combine tight end and defense later in the week. But let's get started with quarterbacks because only 11 games this week. You know, we got the 3-day Thanksgiving slate. There's a special video for that already up on our YouTube page. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and leave in the comments section the quarterback you think is going to score the highest fantasy number of points this week. You don't have to choose the right person, but just leave a comment, pick a quarterback you think is going to score the most points this week, and you'll be eligible to win a free week of FantasyCruncher Pro NFL, where we're going to give away one each week. So do leave that comment. It takes a couple seconds, and why not, right? You get a chance to check out FantasyCruncher Pro. So let's start at the top. Patrick Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson. Look, I'm recording this on Tuesday, and everyone just saw what Lamar Jackson did last night to the Rams defense, and it was absolutely impressive, spectacular. He's awesome. But for me, it's got to be Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes threw for 4 touchdowns in a quarter earlier against this Raiders secondary. They just gave up 4 touchdowns to Sam Darnold. Mahomes hadn't been completely right since coming back off the knee injury, but give him the bye week. I think he's going to come back healthier, stronger than ever, and he's going to go off against this Raiders team. I'm not saying he's going to throw for 404 again, but I think he's the top option here. They've got the highest team total. I'm not one to normally pay up for the highest priced quarterback because I normally think they're going to be the most popular. But Mahomes, I think this week is actually an exception to the rule. That being said, Lamar Jackson's here at 7,000, and look, this game log is pretty undeniable. The low point is 14, and every other week has been basically 26 to 36. He's been unbelievable. I'm going to fade him one more time. This is a really good San Francisco defense, and I understand that, you know, you can laugh and just be like, come on, stop. It's Lamar Jackson. He's amazing, and he's awesome. He absolutely is awesome. I just don't think he's going to have the most likely upside to score the most points this week. I think that game against San Fran is going to be a little bit slower. We can already see evidence of that with the total of 46. So that's only a 26 implied team total for the Baltimore Ravens this week. And I just think there are some quarterbacks in a better spot. And the next one I'm going to mention is probably one that you're going to really wish I hadn't. But I love this spot for Kyler Murray, obviously. And that's not the one. Kyler Murray against this Rams defense, we just saw them give up a ton of points. That's not the one I thought you guys were going to laugh at me. But we finally see him start to do more on the ground, which is really nice to see because those fantasy points can add up in a hurry. Really like Kyler Murray in this spot against this Rams defense. But for me, the one that I think I'm really going to play a lot of this week, and I'm sure it's going to draw a lot of sighs and comments like, no, you've lost your mind. I love Jared Goff this week. He's coming off of 3 of the worst fantasy performances you could have. But honestly, those were slow games against good defenses. Pittsburgh is a good defense, the Bears are a good defense, and Baltimore's a good defense. And yeah, he looked awful. 5 interceptions, no touchdowns the entire month of November. But I think this is a fantastic rebound spot against this Arizona secondary that's given up the 5th most important points to quarterbacks. They have Cooper Kupp. They've got Robert Woods back. They've got Brandon Cooks back. We're rotating Josh Reynolds in there, so they're playing a lot of those receivers. Gerald Everett looked like he was seriously hurt, but came back in the game magically. So I feel pretty confident in this Rams passing attack going to Arizona. I think this game's going to shoot out a little more than people think. So, 25 team total feels a little low to me for this Rams spot team, and I think that's just due to the recency bias. So give me Jared Goff this week. He'll be super low owned, I imagine, but I really like him. I'm off Baker Mayfield this week. I think a lot of people are going to go back there. We watched last week's video. I really like this spot for him. But, this Pittsburgh defense has been good. They're going to Devlin Hodges instead of Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph was just turning the football over too much. Hodges won't do that. They'll be a little more ball disciplined, slow pace, try to run the ball. And I just don't really see a great opportunity for Baker Mayfield to hit his ceiling. They only have a 20-point implied total. It's actually the lowest total game of the week, I believe, at 40. So, again, I really think that's a spot where we can kind of move on to a different option. Sam Darnold's pretty interesting against Cincinnati. You have to check the weather. It's obviously Midwest in the middle of the winter, but really good game here against the Oakland Raiders last week. I talked about that game as the Jets being a sneaky shootout spot. And really, well, they shot out. The Raiders, not so much. Really just kind of never showed up for that game. I think it's interesting against Cincinnati. They're going back to Andy Dalton, too, so I think that the Cincinnati Bengals offense will be a little more impressive. We'll actually talk about Andy Dalton here in a little bit. I think he's a little bit interesting. If we kind of scroll down, Nick Foles, 5,700. I think this will be your cheap default. Probably your cash game quarterback as well. Going up against Tampa, everyone puts up fantasy points against them, Tampa, except for Atlanta, I guess. But even they got a garbage time touchdown to get to 22 points. The Nick Foles has been really good since coming back. 47, 48 pass attempts. Granted, neither game script was good. They were down in both. But, again, I do think that throwing the ball against Tampa is the way to go. They've really stopped just about every running back this season they've faced. They even limited Christian McCaffrey. So I think that this is going to be a pass-heavy attack for the Jaguars. So Nick Foles, 5,700 will be your default value. If we go down all the way down to 4,700, Andy Dalton against the Jets, it's hard to ignore. Look, Andy Dalton earlier in the season, when he had the starting job, they just weren't winning games. He wasn't actually being all that terrible of a fantasy quarterback. 18, 21, 21, 22, 25. He definitely had that 5-point game against Pittsburgh, which was bad. But the others were solid, and now he's below $5,000. And, if you want to fit in your stud running backs, you want to fit in your Christian McCaffrey types, Andy Dalton is a way to go about it. We'll see what the status of A.J. Green is. If he returns, that's definitely a bump as well for Andy Dalton. So if you need a super cheap guy, Andy Dalton, I think, is your play if you need to save $1,000 off Nick Foles. So I think those are the options. There's some contrarian options. You can go to Jacoby Brissett. Tennessee's been giving up a ton of points defensively. Carson Wentz, I just don't think he's very good. I've been on the Carson Wentz hate train. But I think, as I've mentioned with Baker Mayfield last week and Josh Allen the week before, Miami's defense can fix what makes you ail very quickly. I just totally messed up that metaphor. Anyways, what I can tell you is that Miami's defense is bad, and so if Carson Wentz is actually healthy, he gets Alshon Jeffrey back, this could be a nice bounce back spot. I just can't get myself to play Carson Wentz over Nick Foles. But if I was playing 150 teams, in maybe the FanDuel nickel or something like that, I could totally see getting there. But I just don't use Wentz. I just don't think he's got enough multiple touchdown ceiling. He hasn't thrown multiple touchdowns since week 6. He's only got one game all year with 3 or more touchdowns. He just hasn't been the same. We haven't heard anything about the back. I don't want to blame it on the back. A lot of their playmakers have been hurt all season, but it's at this point I think it's fair to ask, is he even healthy? I don't know. Only 2 games with a quarterback rating above 100. He just hasn't been good. But again, it's Miami. If he throws 4 touchdowns, I can't say I'd be surprised. So that's another tournament option you can go to as well. Jameis Winston's been my boy. Jacksonville gave up a ton of points last week to the Titans. I just love Jameis Winston. It's really weird. He only threw the ball 28 times last week. That's super low for him. He hadn't thrown that few times since week 5, But he's normally a guy that you can count on for 40 to 50 pass attempts a game. I think it's interesting. You could go there. I just don't think he's that great of an option compared to Kyler Murray or Jared Goff or Sam Darnold. I think all those guys are better options than Jameis, but again, when you throw the ball that often, you definitely have tournament upside, so I wouldn't want to just dismiss him. So I know I've covered a bunch of names, so I'll just give you a quick top 5, as it is for me right now earlier in the week. It's Patrick Mahomes, Jared Goff, Nick Foles, Sam Darnold, and Kyler Murray. I don't think I repeated Kyler Murray. Mahomes, Goff, Darnold, Foles, Murray. But Andy Dalton is a guy who could rise if A.J. Green returns as well. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to our YouTube page. We really do appreciate it. Hit that like button. It helps us out a lot. And again, leave in the comments section quarterback you think that will score the highest number of points. Thanksgiving video is already up, and running backs, wide receivers, tight ends videos will be released throughout the week. With that, guys, enjoy week 13.